Hey guys, so this is our math review. You should have typed your name in there. You had to identify which triangle had a pair of perpendicular lines. So if you think back to our shapes and perpendicular lines cross, they meet to create right angles. So only one of these triangles is going to make a right angle, and that shape already has a right angle. You should have chosen letter C. That is a right triangle. All right, describe lines CD and DE. So CD and DE. If we were to extend this line up and this line over, what kind of angles is that making? These are two acute angles and these are two obtuse angles. Those would be intersecting lines. Okay, let's look at the next one. It says, which statement is true about the figure below? JK is parallel to JM. That is incorrect. Those lines are crossing, they are touching, those cannot be parallel. Let's look at this one. JK is perpendicular to ML. Those lines don't touch at all. There's no way that they're perpendicular. Let's keep going. KL, so that's this one, KL is perpendicular to JM. Once again, those lines are not touching. They cannot be perpendicular. So that leaves ML is parallel to JK. So JK is parallel to ML. That is correct because they are never going to touch. Select all the figures that do not have a pair of perpendicular lines. So my suggestion would be to draw these out and extend them. So when you were doing this, I hope that's the process that you took. And you should have chosen trapezoids and acute triangles. Remember, acute triangles, they're going to have those little teeny tiny angles in them. Okay, squares have right angles and rectangles have right angles, so those are going to have perpendicular lines. Which figure has more than one set of parallel lines? Again, if I were you, I would have drawn these out, okay? So more than one set of parallel lines. That would be a trapezoid only has one set, so that one won't qualify. A rectangle has more than one set. A right triangle doesn't have any parallel lines. And a pentagon does not have any. So rectangle would have been your answer. All right, describe lines CD and EF. So if we extended these both out, those are eventually going to cross, making obtuse and acute angles. So those are intersecting. Select all the polygons with a set of perpendicular lines. Remember, perpendicular lines create right angles. So if the shape has right angles, it's going to have perpendicular lines. So A has right angles, C has right angles, and D has right angles. These are tricky, but if you look at this angle compared to this angle, this is an obtuse angle. It is slightly bigger than a right angle, okay, because this line doesn't go straight up. If it went straight up, that would be a right angle, okay? All right, select all the true statements about the polygon below. Does it have intersecting lines? Well, if we were to extend these lines, what kind of lines are we going to see? Again, I would have drawn these out. So give me a second and I'll draw it out. All right, so as you can see, I have drawn out the octagon and I have already extended the lines there. So that saves us a little bit of time in this video. So as you can see, these lines are all intersecting here. So it definitely has intersecting lines. I don't see any right angles. So I'm going to say there's no perpendicular lines. And if you look at the shape, all of these angles are obtuse. Remember, if there's no right angles, it's not going to have any perpendicular lines. All right, parallel lines. All of these lines are opposite of each other, okay? These right here are opposite, and these right here are opposite. These right here are opposite. These right here are opposite, okay? So The last two are going to qualify because the last one says has more than one set. It has way more than just one set of parallel lines. All right. Which statement is true below? You have a pentagon with GHIJK. So GH is parallel to JI. So GH and JI. If we were to extend these out, eventually those are going to intersect. Those are not parallel. All right. KJ intersects GK. So KJ and GK, do they intersect? For sure. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that one just so I keep in mind that that looks like a pretty good answer. I can always change my answer. All right, GK is perpendicular to KJ. Well, I can tell you perpendicular is out because there are no right angles in this shape at all. Okay, so I can skip that one. JI is parallel to KJ. JI and KJ. Well, those touch, so they're not parallel. So we were right. B is our correct answer. And then lastly, all shapes have at least one set of parallel lines. That is false, false, false. I taught you that during the lesson. Not every shape has lines. So a circle, for example, it's a shape, but it has no lines. So every shape cannot have parallel lines. All right, guys, if you have any questions, you know what to do.